People will lose jobs.
Yeah.
Recently, Sam Altman made a statement during an interview that, while not entirely surprising given the current implications of AI and its impact on the future labor market, is still quite intriguing when you consider his position. As the CEO of OpenAI, the company is set to revolutionize the labor market in the years ahead. The reason I find this so fascinating is that it's likely the first time Sam Altman has openly acknowledged that AI will lead to job losses.
People will lose jobs.
Yeah.
Many new jobs will be created, I think much better jobs. We feel a responsibility to educate society as we see it. We'll be right about some things, wrong about others, and to be as good as we can at being stewards of this technology. But not everyone's going to like all of the impacts, but this is coming. This is this is a scientific achievement of humanity that is going to get embedded in everything we do. The definition of work changes. Someone that lived thousands of years ago that was trying to be like a subsistence farmer probably would look at what you and I do now and say, that's not really work, they're just having fun. I think it will be so clear once these robots are off doing all of these other things that there's some special human things, and we don't really care about that much what those robots do, in the same way that we don't care that much about the machines and factories making stuff for us.
Right.
But we'll find stuff to do that we really care about.
Sam Altman's recent statement isn't the first time he's addressed these ideas. If you're familiar with his predictions about the future, you've probably come across his blog posts. In these posts, he frequently discusses how the economy is evolving and how the future is set to look radically different. In his latest post, Sam talks about significant changes coming to the labor market in the years ahead. He highlights how most jobs will transform, some for the better, some for the worse. While it's true that jobs will change, he emphasizes that this transformation will likely happen more gradually than people expect. He also reassures us that there's no need to fear a lack of work, even if the jobs of the future don't resemble the traditional ones we're familiar with today. What stands out to me, though, is something unprecedented. For the first time in history, we're engaging with technology that has the potential to do virtually everything. And yet, we're essentially renting this capability. If we reach a point where humanoid robots fully surpass humans in every aspect, it makes me wonder, have you ever wondered what it means for humans to have economic value in a world dominated by AI? While I might be completely off the mark, I believe the biggest reason people struggle to envision a future where this kind of technology creates new jobs is simple. AI has the potential to outperform humans in nearly every aspect. Now, I'm not here to create a doom and gloom scenario, but I think it's fair to acknowledge that this is a concern shared by many. Now, Salmon also states that many jobs that we do today would have looked like trifling waste of time to people a few hundred years ago, which is pretty accurate, and nobody is looking back at the past wishing they were a lamplighter. The person who used to climb up to light the lamps. It seems like such an outdated role in today's world of electricity. Imagine if that person could see the world as it is now. They would be amazed at the prosperity and advancements around them, things that were once unimaginable. Now, if we fast forward 100 years from today, the level of prosperity we'll see might feel just as unimaginable to us now. However, alongside this progress, it's important to reflect on the kind of society we are building. While prosperity is likely, we must carefully consider the direction we're heading and the societal structures we're shaping. Geoffrey Hinton, often referred to as the godfather of AI, touched on this subject during an interview. He discussed a topic that many people might find too daunting to bring up.
What sort of society do you see evolving? Which job will still be here?
Yes, I'm very worried about AI taking over lots of mundane jobs, and that should be a good thing. It's going to lead to a big increase in productivity, which leads to a big increase in wealth. And if that wealth was equally distributed, that would be great. But it's not going to be. In the systems we live in, that wealth is going to go to the rich and not to the people whose jobs get lost. And that's going to be very bad for society, I believe. So it's going to increase the gap between rich and poor, which increases the chances of right-wing populists getting elected.
So to be clear, you think that the societal impacts from the changes in job could be so profound that we may need to rethink the politics of, the benefit system, inequality,
Absolutely, yes.
Universal basic income?
Yes, I certainly believe in universal basic income. I don't think that's enough, though, because a lot of people get their self-respect from the job they do. And if you put everybody on universal basic income, that solves the problem of them starving and not being able to pay the rent, but it doesn't solve the...
When Geoffrey Hinton was discussing this topic, I couldn't take my eyes off the screen. It's one of those issues that, as I mentioned earlier, tends to be overlooked by many experts in the AI industry. Despite their vast knowledge and expertise, they often don't prioritize this particular concern. As I've said before, the people working in these companies aren't politicians or policymakers. Their primary focus is on improving AI models and making them more advanced. What you're seeing on the screen right now highlights a concern that has been troubling some of the wealthiest individuals. For context, this article is from 2015. However, it recently gained attention on Reddit due to its striking relevance, especially as we move closer to a world driven by automation. The title alone is thought-provoking, given the rapid changes in technology and the implications for the future. The Cartier boss with $7.5 billion fortune says the prospect of poor people rising up keeps him awake at night. I believe this article feels even more impactful today, especially when we consider how rapidly things are evolving. This billionaire expresses his greatest fear, that robots will replace human workers, leading to an uprising where the poor will rise up against the wealthy. He said he had been reading about the changes in labor technology as well as recent Oxfam F figures, suggesting that the top 1% of the global population now owns more wealth than the other 99%. Given the current statistics and the way the economy has been progressing, I believe it's likely even worse than we think. One of the things he questions here is, how is society going to cope with structural unemployment and the hatred and social welfare? We are destroying the middle classes at this stage, and it will affect us. It's quite unfair, and that's what keeps me awake at night. Let's take a moment to think about this for a second. I'm really wondering, is this person truly concerned about the state of society, or are they just focused on their own safety and well-being? Honestly, I'm not entirely sure which it is. Now, when you hear billionaire and see them worried about poor workers rising up, you might picture someone in an ivory tower trying to keep the poor people out. But the way this is phrased, it seems like the person is saying, I understand that I'm a billionaire, but we also need to think about society as a whole to prevent things from getting out of control. And if you're aware of the situation with the middle class, it's been under pressure for quite some time now. One thing that really stood out to me, especially upon a second read, was his point about how conflicts between social classes will make it harder to sell luxury goods, as the wealthy will want to hide their wealth. I believe this is incredibly true, and it's probably one of the most accurate observations I've seen, especially considering it was made nearly a decade ago. I've noticed this happening in several countries. For instance, if you're familiar with London, or if you've experienced what it's like to own something nice, you'll know that people will actually steal from you in broad daylight. It's almost unbelievable how common it is. This could be one of the reasons why cities like Dubai, where there's an overwhelming sense of security or perhaps fear, don't have the same level of crime. Either way, it's one of the reasons why Dubai is becoming such a hotspot for tourists looking for luxury goods. As the wealth gap continues to grow, it's becoming more common for people to steal openly. I do wonder how AI and automation will worsen this situation, especially as more individuals and companies begin to reduce their hiring and cut expenses, particularly when it comes to employee-related